Special thanks to Catapult Sports for providing us a coach's lounge in their booth to sit down and discuss football with coaches. And on this particular episode, we sit down with Jordan Hogan, who is now the wide receivers coach at Colgate. I first met Jordan at the New York High School Football Coaches Association Clinic in 2019 and was very impressed with him, as you'll hear. Before Colgate, Coach Hogan served 2 years in the Arizona Cardinals program in the Bill Bidwill Coaching Fellowship. He also spent time with other NFL teams in the Bill Walsh Diversity Coaching Fellowship with the Baltimore Ravens in 2019, Indianapolis Colts in 2017, and Buffalo Bills in 2016. Prior to his time with the Cardinals, he served as the receivers coach at Cornell for 3 years. He was a standout himself at Brockport, where he ranked 5th in school history in career receiving yards. I think he's done a tremendous job so far in his young career. He does a great job with networking, and we share some of that, as well as what he learned in the QB receiver room at the Arizona Cardinals about timing and rhythm. Here's my sit down with Coach Jordan Hogan.
We're live from AFCA, sitting down with Jordan Hogan, who is the receivers coach at Colgate. I met Jordan at the New York High School Football Coaches Association Clinic, and I want to say it was 2019. Yep. They brought me out there, did some podcasting. Before I got going with the recording, the guys were telling me, you got to go see this coach from Cornell.
Yeah.
This young coach from Cornell does a good job. So I went and sat in your clinic. I'm like, yeah, he does a good job. That was a great clinic, brought a lot of energy, shared a lot of good stuff. I know we had you on the virtual summit as well, and then put that one up on CoachTube. But it's great to catch up with you here again, Jordan, and see what you've done here in the last few years.
Yeah, so obviously, Keith, I appreciate you having me on. Obviously, there's thousands of coaches down here at the convention. I'm really honored to be on with you. Obviously, just to kind of catch up. Obviously, the last 2 years, myself and my family, actually, let's go personal. So I'm married. I have a wife. We've been married for 3 years now. I have 2 daughters. Our oldest is 2-year-old. She's 2, Mara Ann, and then we have a fresh one that's right out the oven. She's 2 months. And her name is Mila Bell. So we have Mara Ann and Mila Bell that have been added to our family.
Nice,
so,
congrats.
So appreciate that. So, but last 2 years, I spent some time with the Arizona Cardinals through the Bill Bidwill Fellowship, which was a great opportunity. That was I was able to interview for it. Went through many rounds of interviews with different people throughout the organization, and I was able to land it on June 19th of 2020. So basically, my wife is amazing. When I kind of thought this was going to happen, I asked her, hey, do you feel comfortable, pretty much packing up our house in Ithaca, New York, to move out to basically Tempe, Arizona? And she said, let's do it. That's one of the best things about, well, at least for my wife, she's a coach, so she understands just kind of how fast things can move in our profession. She coaches lacrosse. So when we finally got the call on June 19th from Coach Kingsbury, she said, yeah, let's go. So basically, we had 2 days to kind of celebrate, tweet and tell everybody. Then basically we were on the phone with realtors and places where we were going to stay at. So we relocated to Gilbert, Arizona, which is about literally 18 minutes without traffic to the practice facilities in Tempe. With traffic, it's 25 minutes. So that was really important for me to be somewhere close to the facilities, because obviously, whether it's college or pros, we're going to be getting in there early in the morning. So we found a great house, great family community in Gilbert, Arizona, and I was out there probably by the second or third week in July, and we got going pretty fast. Now, my first year in the league, it was all COVID, so we got tested every single day.
Right.
We're all masked up. It's kind of crazy that that whole period, that whole process was just only 3 years ago. But obviously it was a great experience for me. Spent both of my years in the quarterback's room with obviously Coach Kingsbury, who's very hands-on with the quarterbacks. Tom Clements, who is now actually with the Green Bay Packers as the quarterbacks coach. Long-time Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, position coach. And then Cam Turner, who is now the quarterbacks coach. And then I was kind of, plugged or just was able to be in the room with the quarterback. So between all those coaches, with those 3 coaches, and then you add in obviously Kyler Murray. And then in my second year, they added Colt McCoy, who is possibly one of the best human beings on the face of this earth. There was and there is a lot of just great knowledge and insight and obviously talent in that room. So great experience, learned a lot. Definitely am applying what I learned in the quarterback room to now coming back to the college realm and as a receivers coach.
Yeah, I think that's great. You and I had talked, I think, on the phone just about being able to learn the quarterback position, and obviously, you're sitting in a really good room there, learning that, and in looking at just the way you've progressed through this profession. You're a student of the game. You continue to learn, and I think you do a great job networking too. Obviously, your name comes up quite a bit. I think you've done a great job here early on, just in continuing to grow as a coach. In making that move back to having your own room, thinking and comparing it to when you were at Cornell and now. How did that change for you? What things really evolved and that you were able to take from the experience at the Arizona Cardinals?
It's really just making sure that so from the receiver perspective, just make sure everything's just timed up with the quarterback's footwork. That's something that Coach Kingsbury talked about a lot. During individual, basically the feet are going to always, for the most part, tell the quarterback when to release the football. And then for my aspect, being the receivers coach with quarterbacking kind of a background, just understanding hey guys, we don't have all time in the world to play around at the line of scrimmage or at the top of the break. One of the coolest things is actually it didn't really work in our favor a lot. Being in the NFL and going up against Aaron Donald twice a year. My last year we went up against him 3 times in the year. The last game was the playoff that I probably shouldn't bring up. It did not go in our favor. But the one thing that I learned early on and often in the league is that from a pass game perspective for receivers, you need to get in and out of your route before the pass rush gets to the quarterback.
Right.
That is something that I really found out and learned really fast. Because obviously there's really good pass rushers, defensive coordinators scheming up different blitz tracks, different ways to affect the quarterback without actually getting to the quarterback. So that's something that I've really taken away from my time in the league of just telling these receivers you don't have all time in the world, even though you may be getting free access, you may be getting a little bit of softened off, maybe man or whatever the case is. We need to play with a relentless sense of urgency at the line of scrimmage, at the top of the break, so that we can get into our route before the rush gets to the quarterback.
Right. Yeah, you really learn as you get into that part of the game that you need to be efficient with what you do as a receiver, and you don't have time to waste.
Yes.
It's the difference of taking that extra step to lose someone at the line. You need to learn how to do it in the most efficient way with your feet. Getting into parts of the route where they're still collisioning you. The difference in between using a one-hand hit or two and how that's going to affect the way maybe your hips turn or how long it takes you to get out of the break, because the quarterback is moving his eyes and feet through the progression.
Yes.
He's moving on. If he sees something's not right there, it's taking too long, he's the next part of the progression, even though that route might come open later. And it's funny, you sit back and you watch as a fan and you hear, even in guys showing on Twitter, oh man, look at how wide open this guy was. Yeah, but when he was supposed to be, and when I had my eyes on him, he wasn't. Right? When my eyes went there, he wasn't doing the things he needed to. So it's teaching guys to really be efficient. It all has to calibrate together.
And one of the things you touched upon it, but this kind of jumped in my mind. Another thing that I really learned and was able to pick on and gravitate towards early, just being in the quarterback room, is truly understanding just the internal clock. Yes. Of going through the progression, but understanding I do not have all time in the world to wait for you to release off the line of scrimmage, to get downfield, get into your route. Now maybe if you're D-hop, I'll give you an extra half a second or full second, but I got to get going because 1,001, 1,002, that ball should be out, whether it's a quick game or maybe it's drop back. So just understanding if it's a full progression read, if it's quick game, if I'm working from the boundary to the field or from the field to the boundary, just understanding there's a certain amount of time I can maybe hold or keep my eyes for a certain concept to develop. So just the internal clock of quarterbacks, definitely being around Kyler, because Kyler is probably one of the best quarterbacks or top quarterbacks in the league, of just waiting for things to happen, because he trusts his lower body, his legs, his scramble ability so much. He may wait on a route to develop or concept to develop. Whereas Colt McCoy obviously is not. I'm not knocking Colt. I think Colt will probably say the same thing. He might not be blessed with the same type of athleticism and agility as Kyler. So the ball will be out of his hands, much quicker and faster. And obviously, Coach. I've been watching all the Hard Knocks episodes that have been on TV, and they've shown Colt, talking to the receivers a ton, saying like, hey, like, just be where you're supposed to be at, and the ball's going to be on you really fast. So that's been really good to be able to see one quarterback who's holds on to the ball a little bit longer, which as a receiver and as a receiver coach, you like that, because you may have an extra second or maybe tenth of a second to maybe work the guy at the line of scrimmage or to get the ball down the field. Yeah,
I think it's an important thing to teach receivers, especially young receivers. You think about, the high school guys, maybe some of the first year college guys that, they don't always understand the timing of it, right? And sometimes they get frustrated, like, why am I not getting the ball? Like, they have the feeling that they were open, but when you explain it to them, you show them the calibration. And we would do it all with stopwatches, just like that timing is so important. And they see that, hey, I just wasted 0.4 seconds here. That 0.4 seconds is pretty big. Guys, even from little things, I've worked with receivers, just watching film with them before and showing them, like, you just wasted 0.2 of a second on the line of scrimmage. What do you run? About a 4.7. Well, you just ran a 4.9, right, in attacking this guy.
100%.
So that kind of stuff registers with them, though. They get to see a bigger picture. I'm not one guy running the route out here. There's timing, there's protection, there's all the things that calibrate together.
And to kind of piggyback on what you just said, like, one of the areas I would usually do it in training camp, not so much during the regular season, because it's our meetings weren't as long as during training camp, but I would have time to, like, especially if we're doing pat and go or RVA routes, what I would do is I would pause the clip or pause the one-on-one rep when a quarterback gets to the top of his drop, to figure out, okay, where are you in relationship to, depending on whether it's a 15-yard comeback, a basic route at 12 yards, or just a go ball. Are you at the top of your break? Are you out of your break? Just so you can see in correlation, okay, quarterback he's cocked, he's ready, he's getting ready, the ball is getting ready to leave his hands. Where are you at? Where are your eyes at? Where are you getting in or out of the cut or out of the break? So just some more things that I've been able to take away from my time being in a quarterback room. Because before, like, it's not so much that I was guessing or just assuming, like, okay, like, I think you're open, but just being in a quarterback room, listening, observing, and being a part of the QB Indy. So just watching Kyler go through a drop, going through QB Indy, going through a lot of things really has helped me progress just as an offensive skill position coach.
Yeah, you guys at that level, you have all the data, you have the wearables, right? That stuff really starts to come into play too. And I think when it's helping you as a coach develop your players and helping you develop as a coach too, I think it's both sides of it you can get, especially early on here when we're all learning this. That can be huge too in helping guys find success on the field.
Yes, just obviously as a receivers coach, we should all of us are going to know, like, just how to read coverages and things like that. But just understanding how the whole defense, fits into one piece, and how the quarterback views the entire field. Whether it's how they playing the backside on a 3-by-1. What type of triangle read are they playing towards the field for the number 2 and number 3 receiver. Just little things that just from watching film with the quarterbacks and with Coach Kingsbury, and with Coach Clements and Coach Turner has really helped me progress. Towards really soon, hopefully being able to be a pass game coordinator and being able to take on more responsibilities from a game breakdown standpoint.
Mm-hmm. And shifting to the development of your career, because I think you've done a great job here early on. Like I said, your name comes up, and I think you're finding a lot of opportunities that guys your age, walking around here at AFCA would love to have. What tips do you have for those young coaches who, want to go as far as they can in this profession?
honestly, the number one thing that because a decent amount of young coaches and older coaches reach out to me, and I try to always say the same thing. The number one thing that I usually will tell them is just be persistent. Like, honestly, like, I'll never forget when I did my first internship with Greg Roman, who's now the offensive coordinator with Baltimore Ravens. He would tell me all the time, like, hey, like, here's my number. I see that your text message. I see your messages that come in. I will read your handwritten notes. I see your emails, but just like continue to text me. Continue to I want to know that you want this thing, because obviously, what I used to tell like other guys, like I know there's like 10 Jordan Hogans out there. All right, now there's a fine line between being nagging and being annoying. So you gotta be able to like know the difference between like I just text coach maybe a month ago. I probably don't need to follow up until maybe halfway through the season, or maybe there's a holiday, or maybe they had a great comeback or something like that. So there's a fine line, but just being persistent, but also having a plan too. Like for me, like I got my first internship with the Bills in 2016 because I was persistent. I was a little bit annoying, but like I just found ways to be different. Like first of all, I found out who was in charge of the decision making. I found out that was Anthony Lynn, who was the running back coach at the time. So I would handwrite him. But I knew I wanted to actually be with the receivers. I wanted to be with the receivers. So I handwrote Sanjay Lal, who's now the receivers coach with the Seattle Seahawks. And this was, I think, something that set me apart from everyone else. I actually phone called, so I found out their office phones. And I don't know if they even picked up or heard my voicemail, but I actually called their office phones at night. And I left them a very detailed voicemail, just who I am, hey, can you give me a shot? I want to do this Bill Walsh internship. But those were just certain ways I was able to reach out to them. But I did a lot of research on my own. But I was very persistent in my efforts and working on these relationships. And then when you get them, like if I do get to the NFL or if I do get to a big time program, like still want to text those guys, email those guys. Like just because I get to the NFL doesn't mean I stop handwriting people,
right?
Or I stop emailing people. Like when I was with the Cardinals, I still shot everyone, hey, hope your family is doing well. Don't need anything. Hope to see you soon. So you want to still be authentic. You don't want to be a replica. You want to be different. You want to set yourself apart. But just being persistent and having a plan to go about how you're going to get your internship or get your QC job or get your Power 5 or get your own room. Whatever your goal is, you got to have a plan to be persistent about it.
Well, you've been persistent so far, and I think it's paid off. And I love what you're doing. It's fun to watch you as you progress through this profession. And certainly we'll have you back on here again.
I appreciate it, Keith.
Thank you again to Catapult Sports for providing the space for these sit-down with coaches at AFC. Thank you again for Catapult Sports for providing the space for these sit-downs with coaches at AFCA. Be sure to check out all they're doing at catapultsports.com and one.catapultsports.com. Jordan Hogan has a course on CoachTube on wide receiver fundamentals. I highly recommend that one. That one will be linked in the show notes. I'll be back at the New York State High School Football Coaches Association Clinic, sitting down there and doing some podcasts with their speakers. They have an incredible lineup. Be sure to check out what they're doing. I'll put that link in the show notes. Their clinic is February 2nd through 4th in Verona, New York at the Turning Stone Resort. It's a great venue for a clinic. It's a clinic I attended, as I said, in 2019. I was very impressed with both the venue as well as their lineup. Again, check that out in the show notes. And be sure to follow all we do at coachingcoordinator.com and follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.